Hi, today we are talking about 5 brain reasons that you are sabotaging yourself. And gosh, these reasons are not logical. And they're really frustrating if you've ever self-sabotaged, and most of us have. And if you're watching this video, likely you are here because this has been a thing for you. I want to talk about why this is happening from your brain's perspective and what you can do to help and support your brain to stop this. And you can. There's a ton of things you can do with this, and this is how you get out of that. Because what I don't want you doing is fighting yourself, right? Yourself is saying, woo, we're going back. We're going to go back and self-sabotage. And you're like, no, don't do it. I want you guys to get together and move forward. And so there's brain work involved with that. And it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and it helps you create lasting and sustained wellness and reaching your goals and those types of things. And so so that's what we're talking about today. So my name's Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, and I'm also an emotional wellness coach. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. The brain has a really beautiful process for that. Brains resolve these themselves, except for this process gets stopped and blocked. And so if it's not functioning, we're going to see more symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. These things serve as the foundation for self-sabotage. If you've got things going on, you're likely headed back to um, your old coping strategies. And there's brain reasons for that. So we want to get this process unblocked and moving forward. And so once that's happening, symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress resolve, and also you will watch yourself grow, master things, mature, and you'll watch yourself set goals, reach goals, expand, and just thrive. And the brain needs to be able to do this process for that. And so this process stopped and blocked is at the root of all self-sabotage. And so my entire work, and I have a program where I teach people how to do this work. I do one-on-one coaching and therapy, and I am specialized in helping this process get unblocked so that people can get the results that they want. So this is a powerful brain function, and I have tons of videos about it specifically, but today we're going to talk about the 5 brain reasons why you're sabotaging. So the first one is that, well, let me talk about parts of the brain and then we'll go with the first part. So we've got our executive functioning, our prefrontal cortex, and all these other little parts. I want you to understand right now, I am constantly failing anatomy and physiology. And even though I watch the trainings of brains and this parts and the cingulate, and I don't know where they are. Okay. So I'm going to do my best there. So I'm going to just call this the top part of the brain and your prefrontal cortex. I know that guy right there. This part is the one that does a lot of the healing work. It's also the seat of your conscious mind and your executive functioning. And there's lots of little partners up here. Right below it is your survival system or your limbic system. And that is responsible for fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawn, and your survival mode and surviving. And then you've got below that your brain stem, which is gathering up all this data and information from your body, from your ears. The ears feel like they're a little higher, and the eyes, but right, we're not doing anatomy and physiology. I'm going to show you how to work all this stuff. I don't know their names or where they are. I can sure tell you how to work them. Anyway, so, and then we've got the brain stem is gathering information about what's going on inside of us and outside of us from our senses. Okay. And so, and the organs and all that stuff. So that stuff is taking information, which also is taking up emotion, information, and energy, up past the survival, past this to the survival system. And if it gets past the survival system, it gets to go to the executive functioning, where they make your health and wellness and thriving. The upper top of parts of the brain are the only parts of your brain that know how to thrive, how to mix all this sensory data together so that you're adapting and reacting to your environment well, and that you are thriving. You're having problems, you're solving problems. You're having a perspective, you're seeing multiple perspectives, right? You're interacting, you're and adapting with the world well. That's the top part of the brain. Your survival system specialty is keeping you alive. And it doesn't really care about all that thriving stuff it wants to know, are we gonna live or are we gonna die? And so this part of the brain is not a logic and reasoning center. It's just reading the data that's coming up through the brainstem. And so, and the body, mind body system, right? So if there's stuff, emotion that is positive or neutrally charged emotionally, mentally, socially, those sorts of things, this part of the brain will, the survival system, limbic system will allow it up to go to the executive functioning, top parts up here. That means it gets to be turned into and converted into awesomeness, your wellness, and all those good things. If what's coming through the brainstem is pain, social pain, emotional pain, relational pain, physical pain, somatic pain, if your body is sending up that type of data, it's like we're going to die, and it will shift us into fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn, and it doesn't allow that data up to the executive functioning. So, the negative emotion, if the survival system is not going to allow it through, you don't get executive functioning on it. It doesn't turn into your emotional intelligence, your social intelligence, your relational intelligence, your mind body intelligence. It doesn't get converted. This is a problem. And so your survival system is our friend that takes us, once we go out this way, we're not using executive functioning, we're using old programming. We're using our instincts. We're using our subconscious programming, right? And so we're not using thought and logic and reasoning and skills and resources and ideas. We're not doing that. And so when we go back here, we're going to go run back through your old programming, which is going to look like relapse. It's going to look like you've lost your skill set because that part of the brain went offline. You're not using that part. You're going to look like you're acting like an animal. That's because your human awesome part just got shut down. Your survival system, when it shifts into survival mode, it kind of gathers all the electricity and energy there, and it starts pulling it from the other parts of the brain, shutting them down. Because it's like we don't need fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawn. We don't need a lot of logic. We don't need reasoning, and we sure as heck don't need our talking center in the brain. Let's shut all that stuff down. We'll use that energy for fighting and flighting and fleeing and fawning and fainting, right? So your survival system shuts that part down. When that happens, the door to processing closes and the door to survival mode opens, right? And so this survival system plays a big role in our self-sabotage. And so when we are self-sabotaging, when we are relapsing, when we are taking another stroll through our old ways of being that we don't want to do anymore, that is because of the part of the brain that we're operating from. And so to get out of that, we actually want to use that pain data, the emotional pain, the emotional pain, social pain, relational pain, somatic pain, physical pain. We want to get that processed so it goes to the top of the brain. That your brain also converts that into your health and wellness. Brains do not just make our health and wellness out of the positive emotions or the neutral emotions. It also makes our health and wellness from the painful, negative emotions. So we need both of that processing. I tend over here in my land because the positive emotions don't have this challenging relationship with the survival state, typically. Sometimes they do. That's a whole nother topic, which I should do. It would be fun to do a live on that specifically. I'm not writing that down right now. Okay, staying focused. Okay, so the positive emotions don't typically flag the survival state responses, right? So a lot of times what gets flagged is the negative. And so the negative goes into fight or flight. This is why it gets put back into the body. This is why names are not, my brain's not going to name right now. This is why the book, The Body Keeps the Score, is so beautiful, because it talks about this process, how the emotions get stuck in the body, and that the body keeps the scores of the unresolved trauma, the unresolved emotions. And so because the survival system is using it not in a finishing, completing way, but it's using it to fuel fight or flight, and it's also sending that data. You didn't make it to your final destination, so you're going to have to go back to where you came from. And so all that emotion and energy and information goes back into the body. Okay. And we don't want it there, because that's not the healthy use of that information. It's communication, it's information, it's our emotional intelligence prior to it being converted. Right. So it's not fabulous. It feels like pain. So that's kind of why we don't want to process it. But it is part of our health and wellness. It is part of our emotional intelligence. And I spend a lot of time helping people escort this to the top of the brain. Okay. Now, Having said this, this part of the brain that is the fight or flight, right? The thing it wants to know is, are we going to live or are we going to die? So one of the things we spend time doing is really sending safety signals to that part of brain in its native language. So the interventions I teach, and I do have a free program for this where I teach you my 3 favorite interventions for this. These are weird and different because we're actually talking to this part of the brain. This is not typically the part of the brain we're working with in traditional talk therapies. And that's one of the reasons why they don't get a ton of great results in resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. But I think I'm not poo-pooing talk therapy. It's just we want to use it for what it's really great at, and we want to not use it for what it's not great for. But so these interventions are a little different. They talk to the survival system and they get it to shift out of survival mode and into processing mode by providing it the support it needs. Okay. It needs safety signaling, which leads me to my first point here. We got here. The first reason, the brain reason why you're self-sabotaging is because there's not enough safety. That it's not safe for you to do this awesome new thing that you're doing or to do it any longer. Your brain has run out of the ability to create that internal safety for you. And so it'll go back to where it knows that it's not going to be fun, but we're going to survive. We're going to live. And so it's going to take you back to your old coping strategies or your old neighborhood or your old emotional home or your old comforting tools. And you're going to do that. And your brain's going to say, I know we're going to live here, your survival system, and it's going to turn back on. It's going to shift into survival mode because even though it's not good, it's safe. It knows that the probability of survival if we do this is high. This other healthy thing, we don't know. The data's not out on that yet. And it's weird and it's new and I can't do it anymore. And so it's going to come back to where it feels safe and where it can do that. And then it's going to shift into processing mode, into that regulation mode. And the other parts of your brain are going to turn on. And then they're going to say, what are we doing over here? We do not like this stuff. This is ruining our plans. We're not working towards our goal. When are we going to get out of this? It's going to cause enough distress that you're actually going to move back into a survival state and hang out here longer. Okay. So when we get here, this is not the time to freak out, even though some of your old coping strategies are worth freaking out about. I'm not oblivious to this. I mean, I do work with people with addictions of all kinds that are not helpful. But regardless, the fastest way to get out of here is regulating your nervous system. And so we're going to use a lot of nervous system regulation here. And also, one of the fastest ways not to get here is to help your brain create safety in the place you actually want to be, in the new skills that you want to have, in the new experiences you want to create, in the new neighborhoods you want to live in. We want to help your brain. Just because you get there does not mean your brain has created a comfort zone here. And it has work to do. It has processing to do. And it cannot do processing while it's stuck in a limbic state. So the more time you're in these new environments and you're in a dysregulated state, your survival system's like, I think we're going to die, the more likely it is you're going to self-sabotage. So while you're here, we really want to be regulating your nervous system. And we can actually use strategies and exercises to prep you. You're like, I know where I'm going. I have the vision in my mind. We can start using the interventions now to help the brain. We can throw the brain into that mental space because it doesn't know the difference between mentally experiencing something and is actually experiencing something. And so we can practice beforehand using interventions to regulate while our mind-body system is exploring this. This is the same process as how we do secure basing, right? We find a secure base. Hopefully this is mom. And then we're feeling comforted. We're feeling pretty masterful of our mom environment. We stay pretty close. And then as we're growing, we start to go out and then if I have something, we go back. We come out here, we find something disturbing. We go back to mom. Are we safe? Yes. And then we think about it and we're like, okay, well, I think if we do this other stuff, we'll be safe. And so the comfort zone is important. There are things that you cannot do if you do not have a comfort zone. I have a whole video on that. It's really important not to talk trash about your comfort zone. But when you're trying to grow, you want to help your brain recreate comfort in the new place. Because the more you can support the processing there, the faster your brain will create the comfort zone. And then the more you will feel comfortable in that place, and your survival system and your mind body system is learning that you will be in this new place and live, right? So but your brain has to be in that processing state. And so we can support it with some interventions to hold it over in processing while we're in the new place, while we're thinking about the new place, while we're preparing to get into the new place emotionally, mentally, relationally, physically, somatically, same processes. Okay. Your brain has to rebuild, it has to rewire. You can help with that process. It's not doing rewiring, rebuilding, reorganizing, or creating comfort zones in survival mode. That it's not doing that there. We need to get it into that processing place where it's doing all those things naturally. We don't have to tell it to do those things. Hey, brain, I want you to go in there. You can do that if you would like, but it's a natural process once that processor is running. Okay. The second reason why we are sabotaging is because the safety thing applies here. It's the foundation of all of this, but is because we actually don't have enough support to do it. I personally, and as I work with business owners, there is brilliant people, high IQs, all this stuff. There is only so far we will go, and that place is right where we feel we feel like anymore we won't have support. So we'll go up to the edge of the support. We'll grow all this ambition. It doesn't matter that place right where the support ends. Right, the support is right here. Right, we'll stand right here at the edge and we're not going anywhere. We're like, we can't get past this, right? If we go further neurologically, we will jump back and go back to forget this. We're running straight all the way back home, wherever home is, right? And this is why we want to do quite a bit of processing. One, to bring home closer to this. We don't need to regress all the way back. But we also really, when we come here, we want to acknowledge, I feel unsupported. And we want to process that. Or, hey, brain, I could see that we feel really unsupported here. And logically, you're like, we're supported. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at but this is not a logical process. We have to help your brain go through its process for understanding this, for completing the understanding right here. Okay. So this support can be a massive reason why you're not and maybe you literally don't have enough support, or maybe it's just your brain hasn't finished loading in and wiring this truth and understanding and security in the support you have, right? Or that you've built or that you've called with you. This is a neurological thing. This is a brain thing. We just jump in and support. Okay, because once the brain goes through its process of getting this, you will not have to convince it again. It will be like, hey, we're fine, let's go. And it'll pull you towards it, which is the design. That's how we're supposed to be operating. Okay, number 3 is that when you get to your the place, the goal, emotionally, mentally, physically, relationally, somatically, when you get there, you actually don't have the infrastructure to maintain it. There's nothing wrong with this. This is part of the process. This is neurologically, brain-wise, how it works. And so your brain felt safe enough to get here. You're in here, but there are issues in here that your brain is like, I don't know. And so it actually will sabotage to be able to step back, look at it from a distance, and figure it out, right? And then you're going to watch it go back in there and then come back out. And you're going to watch this back and forth process a little bit. Your brain is building the entire time. This is a great process. This is why when we get back here, we don't really need to freak out about the fact that we sabotage. We just want to support their brain. It's doing important work. It's like you asked me to move countries, learn new languages, learn a new culture, and I'm just supposed to be fine with that. Your brain is saying, no, okay? So it has work to do. So it does this back and forth thing. Right. And our mental health can be measured when we're here and we're thriving. Also, when we're here and we start to get insecure, worried, our brain is starting to discuss what's not working. So maybe we're getting frustrated. And then we end up back here. This right here is where we're measuring your mental health. Can you treat yourself well? Or do you start trash talking yourself? Negative feedback? Do you start self-harming here? This is where we use a lot of processing. Regressions are for processing. So we want to support this regression with a process. with processing. It's easier said than done. Nobody loves a self-sabotage. I'm telling you that. But brain-wise, it's very, very valuable. There's a lot going on here that's really, really important. And the more regulated you stay, the more likely you're going to stay in a regulated brain state that's going to be processing all the stuff and building for you. Right? And so let's work with this process here. Befriend this process as much as possible. Okay. One of the other reason number 4, that brain reason for self-sabotage is that while it's building over here, the brain has its own wisdom. It uses all of our past experiences to help understand the present and also to figure out if I need more information or not. But here in this place, you're rocking and rolling, and all of a sudden you find yourself self-sabotaging or reviewing old time frames mentally, and there's flashbacks coming out. This is because the brain actually needs more data. And brains would like to rather go back into the past and review the data that it already has, rather than say, okay, wait, let's just recreate this old thing that we need to do again. And so if to stop this self-sabotage, which might actually be you recreating a past behavior that you no longer like, or relationship, or all these, whatever. The data is already in your mind-body system, and it's why your brain's obsessed with this thing and wants to keep going back to it. It needs to go back and process some more because there's more data in there that it wants to gather. This is why I like to have people go resolve past memories and work through past memories, because it pulls all that data forward that maybe has never been processed before, and all of a sudden it uploads in the system. And what we have prevented is your system needing to replay and recreate those experiences in your future, because it needs the data, and you're either going to replay it in the future, which is going to be sabotaging, or you can go back in the past and run that data through. And I'll tell you, if you're tired of it, you want to go to the past and do what you already did. And so instead of replaying your next relapse, okay, give your brain what it wants, and then it starts to give you what you want. And that's the good stuff, okay? The 5th reason, and I think the best reason that for sabotage, it's not the best reason. That was very biased because it feels it's a little bit more ego satisfying. We'll say that. Is the 5th reason is that the goal you had doesn't actually fit you. Maybe it's a good goal. Maybe your brain is like, something's off. This doesn't feel right to me. Let's tear it down and rebuild it all over again, right? There, and then you end up back where you were as your life is being broken down by your brain. And hopefully we didn't go all the way back, because we've done a bunch of processing. We've brought the secure base very close here. A trauma response is when we're in the present, and we sabotage, we'll regress back to 15, back to 10, we want to get that stuff processed so that we can just regress back to a couple months ago. That a couple months ago was safe and awesome, and we've just worked up to this point, so we don't need to go all the way back. Or maybe we need to go home to mom for a visit and a hug, or maybe we just need to call her up. Maybe we don't need to move back in and whatever, right? I'm using analogies here. I'm not against moving back in with mom. Okay, so, but when that's the case, like, there's so much, as you keep working with your brain, you're going to find that it is not doing anything for stupid reason. It is only doing things for your highest good. And it is hard to watch yourself regress and watch your brain tear down something that's really important to you. This has happened to me. And I remember just like, no, don't do it. And I just burnt it to the ground. And so, but fast forward, 1, I didn't have the infrastructure for that. 2, I didn't have the internal security nor the feeling of support enough to do that. I had all these other issues. I had to run so much more data from the past. And also that what I was building did not fit me. I did not realize that at the time. Now it fits. Now it's like, wow, this is easy. And now I have the ability to look at it and be like, my brain is making some stuff for me. It's not making it for my ancestors or for my neighbor or for, this is like custom fit, which is what brains do. Brains that are functioning make things custom fit you. And yeah, it might just be one aspect of life. It might be multiple aspects of life, but the more areas that your brain can go through this process with, the more your life is going to look like it was custom built for you. And that's awesome brain work. That's what we're going for. That's what I want to see my brain doing with my clients. And so that's, and we can check that off and we can look through that. But that's the fifth reason why, is that the thing that you're actually, that you want so bad and that you worked so hard for and that you've been imagining and visioning and it's on your vision board, it doesn't actually fit and it needs to be tweaked. Sometimes it's not it at all, which is difficult, and there's a lot of grief work in there. And sometimes it's just a slight shift, a little bit. Let's move everything to the right. And now all of a sudden it's got the right amount of sun for you. It's got the right amount of music for you, right? I'm using analogies again because I think this is complex and it's for you. Right. So, but the more you go through this process, the more you see what a phenomenal teammate your brain is, which is the opposite. If you've got an anxiety, depression, or trauma disorder, you're like, I can't with you, dude. And you feel like your brain is working against you. But really, when you support it with this, with well, these specific interventions or any way of regulating your nervous system, shifting it from fight or flight, survival mode into processing mode, all of a sudden it becomes really your greatest ally and you're a wonderful asset to you. It's super powerful and it works beautifully. So even if you have a bunch of symptoms now, it's just that what it means is that this process is impaired and it's not shifting into thrive mode. It's not shifting into processing mode. It's stuck in survival mode. And so we just need to find an intervention that moves it over and really apply that a lot in the beginning as we're trying to teach your brain how to shift over here in processing mode and really convert all these things, all these challenges into health and wellness, all these negative emotions or unresolved traumas, emotional distress, and how to convert them into your health and wellness. Brains are designed for this. We cannot think our way through this. That part of the brain is not designed for that. It has to be a whole brain, whole mind body process that the survival system governs. Okay, so we really want to support that part of the brain in this and watch it make phenomenal results for you. So having said that, I want to invite you to enroll in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. That program is in, you can find the link in the description below and try those interventions. I've got in there a video to teach you how to see if you're shifting out of survival mode into fight or flight, you're going to see some very specific things occur in your mind body system. And so you can look for them before and after and see what you're noticing. We are not guessing here. We want results. So you actually have to find a matching intervention that you're like, oh, yeah, this works. I have a free Q&A, question and answer opportunity for the people in that group to meet with me on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Not this Wednesday, the next one, starting next Wednesday, and we're just going to keep it running. If you're playing with those interventions and you're unsure, come to that and ask questions. If you want to come to that and you want to be like, Rachel, let me tell you the awesome things my brain is doing. Yes, you are invited. Please come. Okay. So if you're in that program, that is an opportunity for you to come and ask questions or share what you're observing about your brain and how awesome it is. And then also, if you find an intervention that works for you, I encourage you to start my program, Inner World Transformation, as soon as possible because your brain is ready to rock and roll. And I have created a process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, overcoming big challenges like generational trauma. And also, gosh, there's a whole list. I've nerded out on the website to this about all the things this will help you with. And so read that and see if that's the right fit for you. If it is, dive into that program. I've ordered all the exercises and the strategies specifically tailored to get you the outcome in the fastest way possible and in the way brains like to work. And so I just try to really demystify that for you and make it a no-brainer so that you just do the exercises when I tell you to. Okay, so that is in my program, Inner World Transformation, and you can find the link to that below as well. All right. Wonderful connecting with you. Wonderful hanging out. Like, subscribe, follow, and I will see you around. Bye.